What up, guys? Here we are. We're gonna do Talkin Tulsa with Ricky. We'll get headed down the track. I feel like you're like the biggest sensation in racing right now. You kind of got the open wheel world captivated. You obviously dominated the late model world. What's it like, almost like springing into the stardom? It's almost like Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce shit. You just pop right on the scene.
I don't know, it's different for me. Like, I always felt like I wanted to be that guy that got to run in stock car stuff and then got to run in open wheel stuff too. So yeah. I've been fortunate the last couple of years to be in top quality rides, I feel like, and finally I feel like I'm getting noticed.
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, you definitely are, and it's huge in the open wheel world. So kind of take me back. You showed up at the shootout a little while back with micros and nothing on them at all, and all of a sudden you're dominating basically. And how'd you get into the micros? What was that process? You said you want to race open wheel, but just kind of take us through the steps of that.
Well, it was like one of those deals. Like, I've always watched the shootout and just never knew what it would take to be able to do it. Yeah. Well, then, so it's 2 years ago, one of my buddies pretty much got me a ride, and I was running one of Trey Zorn's cars, and I got in it and I loved it right away. So I'm like, I went home, I bought a car, and just started racing as much as I could whenever we had an off weekend, and I loved it. So I ended up buying a second car, and then just kind of transitioned. Then in that first year I went to shootout, like, I didn't make any shows, but I was really good in the non-wing stuff, and I just felt like they fit me a little bit better. Yeah. And then we came to Chili Bowl that next week, and I don't even know what race I was in. It was like an F or something like that. Like, I wasn't the best, but I had a great time. So I decided to try to come do Chili Bowl again last year, and I felt like we ran really well for the limited experience I really got. Yeah. And I feel like that's the hardest part. You come here, I mean, you got guys that, it's no different when like someone comes run a late model. I mean, I got a million races in once. It's like, you know exactly what you need to do. Or I come run the midget here, and I feel like I struggle for about 10 laps, and then I kind of figure it out. So it's so different, but I enjoy doing it just because it's so different.
Yeah. What's that transition like? Like, can you take anything late model wise and apply it to micros, midgets, or even if it's setup stuff? Is there anything that transfers over at all, or is it just completely two different things?
I mean, it's completely two different things, but I feel like I didn't really got to mess with the midget a whole lot, but the micro, the more I made it kind of like my late model, the more comfortable I got. Yeah. But then, like, you almost run into the problem where you try to get everything too perfect, and then it's like that kind of hurt me. Like, even this year, I feel like my non-wing stuff was really good, but then I struggled with my wing stuff just because I was overthinking stuff. So driving wise, I feel like every car drives the same center off. It's just, you got to figure out how to get it down in the corner. Yep. And it's like, once you kind of figure that out, then I think your race is a little bit easier.
Started earlier this couple weeks ago, I guess. We were watching you on a curb about this nasty right here, and felt like you were getting ready to just walk the dog on the boys, and we blew a motor. What was, I'm sure you've told a million people, but what was that emotion? Like, how much does that mean to you? Does it mean to you compared to what you've done? It pays $2,000, which is not shit compared to what you've won all year, but what does that mean?
I mean, it's one of those deals, like, I'm here to win, so I feel like no matter any time you get to go and run one of these races, and I mean, there's a million cars in the building, and to have a shot to win and then it pretty much getting taken away, it definitely sucked. But I feel like it almost makes me want it a little bit more for next year. It didn't pay nearly as much as like some of our other races, but I feel like at the same time, like, the prestige of this deal is so big, it'd be like winning one of our big races. So it's just one of those deals that I ran second last year and was close to a win, so then, like, put yourself in position to win one this year, and then something happens. Like, I honestly don't know which one was worse, like what makes you want it more, whether you run second or blow up leading.
I feel like in your short experience, you got to experience the kind of the highs of shootout and Chili Bowl, and the freaking just shove you in the dirt. Doesn't owe you anything.
It is kind of like even we get ready to go qualify for the race champions. I heard a motor the first lap. Yeah. So that part really sucks, because then it's like, well, then luckily enough, we were still able to change motors, but you start in the back of the race champions, like, you kind of wanted to use it for a test session, and it's like, at that point, you're running hard, but just trying not to wreck. Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned tonight blew up in the Race Champions qualifying. You're teamed up with Reinbold Underwood Motorsports. They say you and Andy are a couple Arizona boys, and you don't live in Arizona anymore. But how does that come apart? Because Andy's got a top-notch team. He won Chili Bowl 2 years ago, the best of the best. Obviously, you had a big year, but still to go out, I feel like on a limb a little bit and shove you in his race car. How does that happen?
It was kind of a crazy thing. So it's like, I tried to talk him a little bit last year about doing something, and just nothing really lined up. And then this year we got about halfway through the year, and he called me and really just wanted me to be in one. So like, I don't know if running as good as I did last year helped a little bit. And then we just kind of planned on it. And for me, it's like I feel like there's 4 or 5 top teams here, and his team's definitely one of them. Yeah. So
No-brainer.
It was a no-brainer for me. Like, everything worked out, and hopefully I can capitalize on it.
Do you ever want to have your own midget? Do that, or like rental program, or?
I've talked about doing a rental program, but I feel like if I ever get to the point, I would almost have like a micro team. Yeah. I don't know anything about a midget. I really don't know a whole lot about a micro, but I feel like maintenance-wise, the micro is a lot easier than a midget.
Yeah, in the midget world, the rental program's huge. Is there opportunity for that in the late model world?
Yes and no. I feel like the problem you run into in the late model world is like, most big teams have 3 or 4 cars, where I feel like a midget team, there's 15 cars sitting there. That, and like, I feel like the transition is just so different. Like, a lot of the younger kids almost, not that their parents have money, but they have a lot behind them, like backing sponsors wise, where it almost seems like it's easier to get into a midget or a sprint car or something at that point, where it feels like the late model world, like I think you could do it. I just don't know how successful you'd be the first few years. And I don't know. I think one day you could do it. Yeah. But overall, it'd just be tough.
I gotta ask, like, we're gonna talk a little bit of late model stuff here. First, I guess before we talk that, I know Swallow's gonna blow me shit because this is 1 lap, 1 beer. I'm gonna drink a couple beers. Like, has he done one with you yet?
So I did one at Eldora earlier this year, but that's a long time.
So you guys have to go watch that one on Flow. We're doing this one here. But what the hell is up with your guys' trucks and trailers you guys have? It's like a full-blown house.
A full-blown house. Well,
it costs $600,000. I see them for sale every year. $600,000, $7 million, whatever they cost. Like, why can't you just have a regular truck and trailer like what we have, or what we would call regular?
So I feel like the problem we run into is, like, say if we have a sprint car style trailer, there really isn't enough room to have 2 cars in it and have it right. Yeah. So, I mean, we're fortunate enough, so where we're at just outside of Indianapolis, that we get to come back to the shop all the time, where, I mean, the RV in front, it's nicer than my house. It's kind of wild, but I mean, you're in it 200 days of the year, so it's like, you want to make it as comfortable as you can, but it's kind of, the pricing on them's outrageous, but they really don't go down in value over the years as long as you take care of them. So it is kind of crazy. Like, we'll go to a race and it'll be us in sprint cars, and afterwards all the sprint car guys leave, go wash and everything else. We're like, we don't really do any of that. So it's like, that's like the 2 opposite worlds. Where
the open wheel people watch this, like, late model people never wash, but I'm not gonna lie, I love it. I try to make a couple trips a year to Eldora, whatever it is, Summer Nationals, just kind of bounce around. You guys, after the races, are drinking beer, playing cornhole. Like, it's awesome. Yeah, that's the vibe I want. So I have envy of that. Like, going to the car wash sucks, but
yeah. Well, and like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, people ask all the time, and there'll be an open wheel person and be like, you guys even work on your car during the day? And I'm like, we do, you just don't see us. Yeah. Like,
well, I will say, like, the open wheel world, they will not be able to party like you guys do and then get up in the morning and do the work that you guys do also. So yeah, you got one up on us as far as that goes.
A lot of them love to party. Yeah. I don't party too much. Just I've always wanted this to be my career, so I don't want to do something dumb and cost myself. Yeah. But I don't know. The worlds are so different, but then it's like, whenever it comes down to a race night, like, I feel we're almost identical. Like, everyone wants to win, but you're not gonna go kill a guy to get the win. So,
So let's keep going late model side of things. You had obviously a career year. I'm not really sure how many races you won. It was like, it seemed like every time I opened up Twitter, you had won that night. You don't win the championship though. And for everyone back home, they kind of had like a chase format, came down to one race at Eldora, which was insane. And you just didn't come out on top. How gut wrenching was that? Or you know, do you kind of go home knowing, you know, I should have been the champion, you just don't get the big check at the end? How tough is that?
It was kind of one of those deals, like, you mentally prepared, like, essentially I had nothing to gain for that deal. Like, I had a huge point lead, and the part that I feel like sucked the most on it was the night we actually would have clinched the championship was our home race.
Yeah.
So it was like, we won at Brownstown, like, essentially I would have clinched it. All I had to do was show up for the last 4 races. And so, like, that part kind of sucked, just for my owner. Like, I mean, he's only been in it 5-6 years, so, like, to be that new and then have a shot to win the points, I guess that part sucked. But it was one of those deals. I feel like if we wouldn't have had the year we had, and then not, like, I guess the easiest way, I felt like for winning as much races as we did this year and not winning the points made it a little bit easier than not winning any races and then winning the points. Like, I feel like that part of it would have been, yeah, like,
We're going to think of 2023, we're going to think of the year Ricky Thornton had winning all the races.
Yeah, and I almost feel like I maybe gained more fans not winning the points than I did winning the points, just because there were so many people mad about it. But
yeah,
like, that part of it was kind of crazy. But overall, I mean, it's one of those years, like, it probably will never happen again. Like, we won so many races and in big races, and really, like, I feel there's so much money getting thrown around now in the late model world that hopefully we can keep going like we are. But I feel like every couple of years there's like a new trick thing that comes out, and one guy's really good.
Yeah. So, about to head back up the ramp. What would it mean to you, whether it's this Saturday night, next year at Shootout, to be able to roll up this ramp with a golden driller in hand and be a Shootout or Chili Bowl champion?
I mean, it'd be huge. That's why I'm here. There's other stuff that I could go do, but at the end of the day, I want one of them drillers.
Yeah.
It sucks to be close a couple times in the shootout stuff, but I mean, you never know. There's a lot of really good people that have been here year after year and never gotten one.
Yep. Well, thanks for hanging out with me, talking a little bit Tulsa. Maybe we'll see if you'll pull it off come Saturday night.
That's the plan. I appreciate it.
Thanks.